Alright, in this tutorial we're going to do some more advanced 2D to 3D conversion. Here we're going to use a displacement map to make an image look like it's stretching into the distance. Here you can see you can't cut this image into layers because the ground slowly goes from close to you to far away. So you have to use what's called a displacement map to create a steady falling into the distance effect. So the first thing you do, it's going to start out the same, is you're going to split it out into different layers. It's what you do with the layers that's different. So I just here have selected out the ground and I've copied and pasted it. So the way you use a displacement map is to apply a gradient to it. So I'm going to get the gradient tool here and do a black to white gradient, starting just above the horizon so that the horizon is not perfectly black, and dragging down to the ground so that the ground closest to you is white. You just drag down and there you can see that's the ground's portion of the displacement map. As it goes away from you, it gets darker and darker. Now we need to create the part of the displacement map for the sky. So to do that, I'm just going to duplicate the background here. Alright, there's the sky, just duplicate it out. And this time, since the sky is all universally far away, we're just going to paint the whole thing in black. And I'm going to need a bigger brush than that even. Alright, that's going to be our displacement map. Although there's a little bit of, you can see it didn't quite color in this edge here. So I'm just going to quickly go in here and touch that up. Now we're not actually going to use the displacement map on the hot air balloon or the trees. We're going to cut them out and then we're going to just move them like we did in the simpler 2D to 3D tutorial. So because of that, we're going to have to cut them out of there. Make sure this all lines up. We're going to duplicate this, because remember there's going to be a left eye and a right eye. And now we're going to cut out the balloon and the trees from one of the eyes so that we can move them manually. So if you have Photoshop, you can use the spot healing brush and it'll make your life really easy. Just color in over what you want to get rid of. And it's gone. And now we're going to pull the trees out of there. Now you can do this manually if you don't have Photoshop. It's just going to take you longer to copy and paste the sky and fill it in and blur it together. But here we're just going to use the Photoshop tool and just pull it right out. There we go. Now that the balloon and trees are gone, now we can apply our displacement map. So we want to apply it to the layer that has no balloon or trees in it. First, though, we need to save it out of here. So we need to actually make our displacement map visible. And then we need to actually save that out as a separate file. New file, save as. I'm just going to name it displacement map. Alright. Now let's hide the displacement map and bring back up our original image. And now go to Filter, Distort, Displace. The number you use here is going to vary a little bit on the resolution of the image. So it's just going to depend on your photo. These other settings are the ones you want to use here. Just hit OK. Now you're going to choose your displacement map you just saved. Now you can see it sort of warped the picture, shifting parts of it to the left and parts of it to the right, which is what's going to create our slowly moving away 3D effect for the ground. These edges here, you can see they sort of got distorted. In reality, those are probably going to get cropped off anyway when we align the 3D images together, but I'm just going to smooth them out here just so they're not as noticeable. There we go. Now, as you look at the ground and the sky, as I shift back and forth, you can kind of see the 3D effect already, how it's shifted them a different way depending on how far away they are. So the only thing left to do now is to move the balloon and the trees in the same way. So I'm going to select out the balloon first. There we go, looks pretty good. I'm just going to copy and paste this out of here now, so it's on a separate layer. Now let's move it up above our otherized image here. Go. Now you can see it's back in both images, where in before the shifted one didn't have the balloon. So next we've got to grab these trees. Luckily they're far enough away that we don't have to be completely precise. If they were closer to the foreground, you'd have to spend a lot more time grabbing the individual leaves and picking everything out of there. Luckily this one's not too difficult. So we're just going to go in here and fix up the trunk of this tree right here. And then I'm just going to expand it so I don't lose the edges of the leaves. So you just go to Selection, then Modify, and Expand. And just do like 1 pixel, just to grab the little edges of the leaves there. There we go. Looks good. I grabbed too much down here. Let's snag that out of there. All right. Now we're going to copy and paste these out of here. Alright, now the trees are on a new layer, and the balloon's on a new layer. So now, they should show up in each picture, whether shifted or not. Look at that. See, the only problem is, they're not moving with the rest of the photo in the right way. So this is where we're just going to come in and manually shift them over. There's a little bit, still not quite right. So we're going to shift them, I think, a little bit more here. Now let's shift the balloon over. Now if you look at it, it looks pretty good. The trees and the balloon are moving at about the same distance that the horizon is, but not quite as much as the sky. So it's making a pretty good 3D effect. One thing I want to do here is just clean up this there's a little distorted area right here from when I cut the trees out. So let's just clean that up really quick. There we go. Looks good. Now if I zoom out of here and sort of flicker back and forth, You can kind of see the 3D effect. So let's zoom out a little bit more. We'll go a little faster. You can kind of tell already. Of course, if you actually are looking at it on your 3DS or your HTC Evo 3D or a 3D TV, you'll be able to get a way better effect of 3D. But for no glasses, flickering it back and forth, you can already tell kind of what's going on here. So now we need to save the left and right images. The way to tell the left from the right is to look at the foreground and look which way it shifts. If the foreground shifting to the right, that means the left eye. So that one's the left. And then in this one, the foreground shifts to the left, so I know that's the right eye. I'm going to say this is the right eye. Once you've done this, it's the same as all the other tutorials. You're going to open it up in Stereo Photo Maker, and then you're just going to save the MPO file. Look at it on your phone, look at it on your 3DS, look at it on your 3D TV. I'm going to go ahead and show you, just in case you haven't followed the other tutorials. There's my left-right images. Stereo Photo Maker. Open left-right images. Left, hold down Control, click the other one for right. There we go. Now we're going to save the MPO file. Now if you want to make a copy of your handiwork for friends that don't have a 3D screen of any kind, you can actually save this out as an animated GIF, kind of that flickers back and forth like we saw in Photoshop. So you can just go to File, Save Animated GIF, and you can see there in the little preview, I mean, it kind of looks 3D. You can at least tell. Obviously, it's not as good as looking at it on an actual 3D screen, but it's a nice little effect to show to friends who don't have a 3D screen. You can also make the little old-timey red and blue version if they have old-timey 3D glasses. So that's it. That's how to turn any 2D photo into a 3D photo. You can check out this image and download it over at my website. I'll put a link in the description.